الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I think this is a perfect segue to what just Brother Muhammad mentioned as he was introducing himself. Ad-da'wa ila Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. Ye were the best ummah, the best nation that ever brought forth to mankind. Not to go about and make much money, or to go about and to be dominant over other nations, or to strengthen your muscles. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ye were the best ummah brought forth to mankind. تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, enjoining goodness, وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and abolish evil, وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, and to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so today, brothers and sisters, astaghfirullah, there is no sisters amongst us, but oh, they hear us.
No, because the camera. So.
Oh, the camera, that's how they can see us. Okay. So today, brothers and sisters, the unfortunate thing is, if I were to go anywhere and say that I am a Muslim, what would people say about me? What would be their very first preconceived ill notions? And I particularly chose that. What would be their preconceived ill notions about me as an individual? When I said I am a Muslim, why is it that people belittle us at the airports? And they belittle us wherever they see us, just the second that my name indicates that I am a Muslim. The unfortunate thing is that, as we know in America, marketing is power. If I wanted to market anything, I have to absolutely employ the best people that money can buy to market a product. After all, we are in a consumer world, a market where we go out and compete, as in who wants to buy which commodity. And believe it or not, Coca-Cola, anybody knows how much they spend every year in their advertisement? Who doesn't know Coca-Cola? I'm very sure even in Caracas somewhere, or in a very small village in Africa, or in a minute town somewhere in the world, there is that red label with the white writings on it, Coca-Cola, in Arabic and in English, and nowadays in Chinese, in any and every language that you can conceive. But why do they spend so much money to be in front of you all the time? Anybody knows how much? Last time I asked, it was $100 million just to advertise their name around the world. And perhaps only in the US market, not probably around the world, only in the US market, $100 million. And so is Pepsi, and so is other people. And obviously, there is other beverages that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited. They also put so much money during Super Bowl and other times, where they want to portray their image that we are there, we are here, we are better. Come and buy from us. And so the problem today is really not the message. The problem is the messenger. And I'm, of course, not speaking about anyone except us. Once again, we have the best commodity that man can buy or get to know. But the problem is, it is not the commodity in of itself. It is not the item that is for sale. It is actually the messenger or the salesperson who's selling it, he or she. But for us to dispel any of these problems and to find solutions, because if we sit here tonight for many, many nights to come, reciting the problems and the ills that are with us, we will never end. But we must always talk about the solution. And so, كيف كان خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم? How was the behavior of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? as a messenger of the messenger. How did he go out? As Brother Muhammad says, he loves to give da'wah to Muslims and non-Muslims, believers and non-believers, people of faith and people of no faith, those who worship Allah and those who don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the idea is, this is us. And the Prophet ﷺ says, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. Say about this deen, about me, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. He says, spread the message, even if you were to recite one ayah, explain it to someone who does not understand. So how was the man who spread the message? Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. من حديث سعد بن هشام بن عامر قلت يا أم المؤمنين أنبئيني عن خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو عن خلق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This young man, a Sahabi, came to Aisha radiallahu anha and he says, "Oh Aisha, oh the mother of the believers, how was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in public? In private, we know him in public. Our eyes meet his eyes. Our hands shake his. We hug him, he hugs us, he sits amongst us, the nobles of us and the peasants amongst us. He was always around us. How was he in private?" So Aisha radiallahu anha, she looked back at him and she shouted and she says, "Ala taqra al-Qur'an ya am? Do you not read the Quran?" Do you not read the Quran? So she said, "Yes." He says, "Yes, I do." فقالت ألست تقرأ القرآن؟ قلت بلى. He says, "Yes, I read the Quran." فقالت فإن خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان القرآن. So she says that his behavior, his etiquettes, his way of thinking in public and or in private was Al-Quran. And this is the problem with us today, is that when we misunderstand our deen and our religion, which is Al-Quran, then guess what? Everyone get to, unfortunately, speaks out of their whims and desires. Every person goes out there and try to say something that has really nothing to do with our deen. Nowadays, we go to YouTube and we go to all of these readily available channels, wherever and whatever they may be, and you have people saying things that sometimes have really nothing to do with our deen. في حديث عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يرفع العلم انتزاعا من صدور الرجال ولكن بموت العلماء فإذا مات العلماء اتخذ الناس رؤوسا جهالا فسئلوا فأفتوا بغير علم فضلوا وأضلوا. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم says, our deen is protected, but a time will come and the deen will never be risen from the hearts of men. But a time will come when the ulama will die. And when the ulama die, other people will be labeled, as Brother Muhammad was trying to say earlier. Sheikh, there is a sheikha, there is this and that, a alim. And everybody who just wraps a turban or wears the attire of ulama, and perhaps read a book or two, these people are now considered to be the ulama of the ummah. And that is really unfortunate. And once that happens, then guess what? They will lead people. And people will use them as leaders. And when that happens, the Prophet ﷺ says, then they will go astray and they will lead people astray with them. فكيف كان خلق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قبل البعثة أو قبل أن يبعث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لمن كان حوله أو حوله في مكة. When the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, before he was known as the Prophet, how was he? Once again, it is not the message, it is now the messenger. I, as a Muslim, how am I perceived? Particularly in an area where there is not many Muslims around me. How am I perceived? How does my neighbor perceive me? How does my friends perceive me at work and colleagues? Even my foes, how do they perceive me? Are they really that much ignorant of the deen? In my opinion, Islam is well known to the world today. But someone somewhere is making it a point to taint the image of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They wanted to make sure that the image of the messenger was a tainted one. Because once you taint the image of the messenger, it's easy now to play around with the messenger. فلما فاجأه الوحي قال لخديجة رضي الله عنها لقد خشيت على نفسي يا خديجة. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came running down from the cave, hurrying to his house, to the house of Khadija radiallahu anha, he came in shaking and shivering and sweating, as if he has, as we say in America, as he has seen a ghost. He was extremely, extremely in shock and in a state of fear. So the second he entered home, when he told her, لَقَدْ خَشِيتُ عَلَى نَفْسِي, I am afraid to lose it. I cannot believe what's happening to me. Of course, after he met with Jibreel alayhi salam, and he was given the responsibility of delivering the message. What did Khadija say to him? You want to know a man? You have to know a man in private. Then you could know him in public. And if you really want to know someone, you have to ask those who know him in private. You know how they say private victory before public victory. You have to know someone, how he or she deals privately with her own family or his own family. Then you really get to know how they are in public. Because people lose sight of what public is when they are surrounded by four walls. But when they are in public, everyone can put on a face. Everyone can put on a front. It is nothing but an act, right? And so she said, Kalla wallah. She said, Wallahi, nay. La yukhzika Allahu abadan. Allah will never forsake you. Innaka la tasilu rahim. You always visit your next of kin. Whom amongst your family that you have ever thought would be in distress and you did not go to see? Who is it amongst your family that you've always thought that they were sick and you did not go to visit them? You always ask. وَتُصْدِقُ الْحَدِيثِ. You never say a lie. You never say a lie. And that's the character of someone who's honorable. People who lie are people who are afraid. And people who lie, they have the slave mentality. And people who lie, they what? They want to hide something that they do not want someone else to find out. إِنَّكَ لَتَصْدِقُ الْحَدِيثِ وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلِّ. And you carry the heavy things in the market for elderly people. وَتُقْرِ الضَّيْفِ. And you are extremely hospitable to those who come to visit you at home. Imagine, as the Prophet ﷺ says, قَالَ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ مَنْ لَا يُكْرِمْ ضَيْفًا. He is not a believer who does not take good care and be dutiful to his guest. It is known in this region of the world where we live now, in the Arab world, where hospitality was actually manufactured. If you come to a tribe or to a group of people, as how Kuwait started, the people who were sitting, if you come to them and they usher you to their mix, for 3 days they do not ask you where you came from and what is your name and what's your purpose. They will feed you, they will even defend you. And if you left before 3 days, they don't even need to know. But if you stayed after that, then they ask you, how else can we help you? And this is hospitality. And so subhanallah, she says, وَإِنَّكَ تُقْرِ الضَّيْفِ وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ. If you see something wrong, you never turn the other way. If you hear something wrong, you don't turn a deaf ear. You always defend the haqq no matter what. لا تأخذك في الله لومة لائم. We should not تأخذنا في الله لومة لائم. We should not be afraid to speak the truth no matter what the situation is. Even if we were in front of kings or in front of weak people. When we need to speak the truth, we speak the truth. This was his behavior. Before he was known Prophet Muhammad when he was only known Muhammad ibn Abdullah, alayhi salatu wasalam. When he was known from his childhood until the age of 40, before he received the wahi, the risala, to deliver the message, this was his character. So what did the Yahud say about Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? And not just any Yahud, not any Jews. The Hacham of the Yahud. Basically the chief of the rabbis. What did he say about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? روى الترمذي عن عبد الله بن سلام قال لما قدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى المدينة انجفل الناس إليه. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to Medina, and who's reciting this hadith? Abdullah ibn Salam. Abdullah ibn Salam was known to be the chief of the rabbis of Medina. Someone who's extremely knowledgeable, someone who knows the signs of the Prophet who's coming. And they used to be called him Prophet King. So not only a prophet, but also a ruler at the same time. And so knowing that, he says when Prophet Muhammad came to Medina, in jafala ilayhi nas, everybody ran and rushed towards the camel of the Prophet ﷺ, and they surrounded him. And people were chanting, obviously, طلع البدر علينا, and many other chanting, but people were saying, قدم رسول الله, قدم رسول الله, قدم. The Prophet has come, the Prophet has arrived, the Prophet has arrived. فجئت في الناس لأنظر إليه. I came to look at this man. I wanted to see the characters of prophethood in him. I wanted to know if this was the real deal, or was this something just bling bling and nothing else, nothing but fluff. I wanted to know if this was truly the prophet that they were talking about, that is written in our books, or was he someone else, like an imposter. فجئت في الناس لأنظر إليه فلما استثبت وجه رسول الله. He says, when I looked at him and I clearly knew that this is truly his face, عرفت أن وجهه ليس بوجه كذا. He says, when I authenticated that this is the man that they talk about, I looked at his face. The Arab are known for something called firasa, which is today we call it what? Profiling. The Arab, they could look at you and they can truly profile you. They can sense fear, they can sense truth, they can know whether you're giving them a story, and they know sometimes how you would even behave in the future. They look at a child and they say, that's going to be a good child. SubhanAllah, Allah has put something like this in some people, right? They have this innate ability to tell whether they can trust someone or not. So he says, when I knew that this was the face of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, I knew that this is not the face of someone who speaks a lie. عرفت بأن وجهه ليس بوجه كذاب وكان أول شيء تكلم به. And look at what the Prophet ﷺ says, the first press conference that he gave, as we say today. As he was standing on his camel, people were pulling left and right. Everyone wanted him to come to their home. SubhanAllah, they never seen him before. But they knew that this is Prophet Muhammad, and now everybody was pulling al-Qaswa. Everybody was pulling his camel towards their home. Everybody wants the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to come to their home. فَكَانَ أَوَّلَ شَيْءٍ The first thing that he said, his very first press conference, he says, أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ. He didn't say, "O Muslims." He didn't say, "O believers." He says, "O people." أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِفْشُوا السَّلَامِ. Spread peace. Say salam to everyone. You know or you do not know. Just say salam to everybody. And the best way we can say salam today in an area where there is not many Muslims, rather than frowning in the face, walking out of my home in the morning, clenching my fist, looking at all the people and says, "Man, you kuffar, you going to hellfire. I made it. I'm Muslim. I'll be going to Jannah, inshallah. I got the hur waiting for me," right? So we always like frowning in people's faces because we want to show them that we're legit. We're very, we're true to the religion, right? Just frowning in our faces and just, looking like, "Move, I have arrived," kind of thing, right? So the first thing he says, "If you salam." And wallahi, the best way to do that is, in a country like in America, we're not going to say salam alaikum to everybody walking in the elevator. Imagine people walking in the elevator and says, Salaam alaikum. They look at you and say, what planet did you fall off, man? Right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing is smile in their face. Just smile. And that's like spreading peace. وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ. And feed those whom you know and you do not. SubhanAllah, today the Amir of Kuwait, may Allah bless him and elongate his life. The Amir of Kuwait today, the United Nations, what did they say about him? Man of humanity. Simply by giving those who are in need, right? So, وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ. Give money, give food to those who are in need of it. أَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ. Give food. Give food to those who are in need. Sahih? Find out someone who's in need and give them food. وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ. وَصَلُّوا وَالنَّاسِ نِيَامٍ. And pray in the middle of the night when everybody's asleep. Meaning tahajjud. Pray in the middle of the night, or pray at the last third of the night, or the last sixth of the night, an hour or two before Salat al-Fajr. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down to the first heaven in a way, shape, or form that no one knows, nor can we imagine. And He would ask us, Allah, the one who created us, all of us, Rabbul Izzah, He asked, do you have need that I would fulfill? Do you have a sin that I can forgive? Or do you have a prayer that I would accept? Every night. And in hadith of Uthman ibn Affan, قال حتى تطلع الشمس, until the sun comes, which is almost right after Fajr, which is Shuruq. صلوا والناس نيام, pray as people asleep. تدخل الجنة بسلام. You will enter al-Jannah peacefully. An amazing formula. What an amazing formula, isn't it? Simple formula. O people, spread peace. Feed those who are in need to be fed, or those who are hungry. Pray in the middle of the night, and you will enter Jannah peacefully. So this is a testimony from the Hakam, or the chief of the rabbis at the time. But then if we go even a step further, it is easy, wallahi, to deal with humans, right? After all, everybody wants to leave behind a good legacy, wouldn't it? When I'm long gone, 6 foot under, who wants people to say that he or she was a bad person? Nobody likes that. But subhanAllah, when even it extends further to deal justly, even with animals, then the character is completely different. You see what I mean? We don't have any right to kill even animals without any right. Even when we do the Qurbani on Eid, there are certain rules. Even for us to kill certain animals, to eat them, there are certain rules in Islam. You can't just, shoot them up, cut them apart, just eat them like that. You have to do it in a certain way that is actually humanely done, even for the animal itself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى وَيَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَالْبَغْيِ يَعِظُكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala admonishes us if we do not deal with one another in justice. فعن علي بن عمر, which is Abdullah ibn Umar رضي الله عنهما, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, قال عذبت امرأة في هرة سجنتها حتى ماتت فدخلت فيها النار لا هي أطعمتها وسقتها إذ حبستها ولا هي تركتها تأكل من خشاش الأرض. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says a woman will enter hellfire. This is a very harsh ruling on a human being. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says a person will enter hellfire simply because that individual did what? Dealt inhumanely with a cat. Dealing inhumanely with a cat. So the Prophet ﷺ says, قَالَ دَخَلَتِ النَّارِ, she will enter hellfire because she imprisoned a small or domesticated cat. And then, by the time she imprisoned it, she did not feed this cat until it died. Wouldn't it have been better to just let it loose, go out? You don't want to feed the cat? Let it go out. Let it go out, eat. And find from whatever shrubs of the land where that cat could find and survive. but you cannot imprison a cat to the point that you would actually kill it. And the Prophet ﷺ dealt even with those who were his enemies, well-known enemies. There was an incident that a man knocked on the door of the Prophet ﷺ. And as he was being ushered in, he asked, who is the one who knocks on the door? And he says, I am so-and-so. So the Prophet ﷺ, under his breath, he says, بِئْسَ أَخُ الْعَشِيرَ وَبِئْسَ ابْنُ الْعَشِيرَ. This is a wicked man. A wicked man coming to us from a certain tribe, but he's a wicked man. But when he entered the house of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ stood up, ushered him, shook his hands, and took his own seat and folded it, put it under him and ushered him to sit, and fed him. They talked, reminisced, and the man left. So Aisha afterwards, she came to the Prophet ﷺ, she said, Ya Rasulullah, سمعت ما سمعت ورأيت ما رأيت. Ya Rasulullah, I've heard what you said about this man, but then you treated him as if he was a king. How come? So he says, Ya Aisha, متى عاهدتيني فحاشا? When did you see me speaking in a harsh way to people in their faces? إن شر الناس عند الله منزلة يوم القيامة من تركه الناس اتقاء شره. He says the worst people on the day of judgment are those that people will even try to be nice to so that they would stay away from his evilness. Imagine that sometimes you have to deal with someone in a nicer way just so that he would not cause you harm. And these are the worst people on the day of judgment. And so a person like this, even that, the Prophet ﷺ was absolutely kind to. The Prophet ﷺ was an amazing person with his employees. Well, sometimes I'm amazed how we treat our employees. If I was a manager, if I was the owner of the company, or if I was the owner of the house, and I would simply ask, how do we treat our maids? How do we treat our employees? How do we treat those who report to us? If I was in a restaurant and someone brought me food or water, do I really say thank you? No, really. Do I really turn to them and I look at their name tag and I say Usman or Zainab or whomever the name is on their name tag and I say thank you? And I really smile on their face as they put the food in front of me, and I actually do say thank you. Does that really happen? Someone who serves me, am I kind and just with them? So now listen to how the Prophet ﷺ dealt even with those maids that worked with him in his own home. يقول أنس قال والله ما مسست ديباجا قط ألين من كف النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. And as someone who served the Prophet ﷺ 10 years in his home, he says, I have never touched more silky hands than the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. You know, when people say touch a silky hand means what? He never hit. You see, when we dig deep onto the hadith itself, a maid, when he shakes the hands of the person who is basically his, you can call it master, that means what? I would shake your hands because I'm asking you, or I would shake your hands because I'm saying hello to you. That means you have never seen the harsh or the harshness of my hand. He says, I have never touched more silky hands than the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. وَلَا شَمَمْتُ رَائِحَةً قَطُّ أَطْيَبُ مِنْ رِيحِ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم. I've never hugged a person, nor did I get closer to someone, and I smelled more beautiful scent than the scent of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I think this is a trait that we Muslims need to continuously do. If there is one thing that I love about Kuwait and the people of Kuwait, and I'm not saying this because there are some brothers who happen to be Kuwaiti near us, wallahi, I feel that it is the only group of people that I met in all of my travels that they always smell good. MashaAllah. And the masajid in Kuwait, they always smell good as well. I am absolutely impressed. I've been to many countries that are supposed to be taking good care of their masajid. Unfortunately, they are not. But the masajid here in Kuwait, they're very, I'm not sure if all of you agree with me or not. But the people of Kuwait, you know, the brothers that we shake and hug them, they smell very, very nice everywhere. And sometimes, of course, if someone is praying near you, by the time they do this with the qatra, mashallah, the whole masjid smells good. And so I need to find out who's selling that scent so I can go and buy a lot of it. He says, وَلَا شَمَمْتُ رَيْحَةٌ أَطْيَبْ مِنْ رِيحِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم وَلَقَدْ خَدَمْتُ النَّبِيَّ صلى الله عليه وسلم 10 سنين. And I've served the Prophet 10 years. فَمَا قَالَ لِي قَطْ Never once did he say, boy, come here, or shouted or rebuked me. Never once. Never once shouted at me. وَلَا قَالَ لِشَيْءٍ فَعَلْتَهْ لِمَا فَعَلْتَهْ Or if I did something wrong, why have I done it wrong? Or to something that he asked me to do and I did not do, why did you not do this? What does that mean? والله قال احسن إلى الناس تستعبد قلوبهم فلطالما استعبد الإحسان إنسان. Wallahi, if we are kind to one another, especially if I'm kind to someone who serves me, I guarantee you that individual would always want to serve me. Why is it that a team manager, all of his teammates, they always want to follow him wherever he goes? Oh, no, I want to be in his team. Why? Because they love the way he treats them. And therefore, if you treat someone correctly, they will never do something that you would find to be wrong. I guarantee you, if you treat the person who serves you food in any restaurant, and I used to own a restaurant before in the States, I guarantee you will get the freshest food. Now, I'm not, prodding the idea, nor am I condoning that you be nice to the waiter so that they get you fresh food. But I'm just saying that genuinely we have to do it. After all, subhanAllah, we could have been the other way. Right? The person who serves us, we could have been the person that we are serving. And so if I put myself in someone else's shoes, I think that would have been better. And this brings us to how was his etiquettes in general. His etiquettes in general, one, كان يمازح أصحابه. He was someone that was always nicely and kindly to be around. He was pleasant. Wallahi, as Aid al-Qarni, barakallah fi, in his book, La Tahzan, he says there are people like humma. There are people like fever. You want to avoid someone who has fever, don't you? There are people like that. You just do not want to be near them because they never signal to you that you can be closer to them. And this is really, really difficult. So كان يمازح أصحابه ويخالطهم, and he was always amongst them. ويداعب صبيانهم. He used to even joke around with the boys. If, for example, we come in a group like this, and there was a child, usually children, when there is too many adults, what happens? They become aloof, they stay behind, they don't want to, be, mixed. So one time he sees, and subhanAllah, this also shows that he knew almost everything in the community, because he would always ask about everyone. So he sees a young boy and he says, Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala Nughayr. He says, Umayr, what did you do with the little bird? And the idea, the story is that this young boy had a bird, and caged bird, but the bird died. And of course he was sad. So he would come and tease him. What did you do to the bird? You killed the bird, didn't you? That kind of. So imagine the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam talks like this with a young man. And nowadays when we see a young man, it's like, shut up, don't talk. Why is he here? Get out. Don't make too much noise. And it feels like we really do not want them to be around. فَكَانَ يُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الْحُرِّ وَالْعَبْدِ. It doesn't matter who invited him. He would always come to them. If they were the first in Medina, he would always go to visit the sick. وَيَقْبَلُ عُذْرَ الْمُعْتَذِرِ. Anyone who apologizes to him, he would accept it. No matter what. If anybody says, I'm sorry, fine. You walk around and somebody pumps you in your shoulder and says, man, what's wrong with you? It's like, man, I'm sorry. What do you mean you're sorry? What are you talking about? And especially if you was a husky person, strong, you want to flex your muscles, right? And he says, don't you see these guns, right? And so sometimes that's really, truly unfortunate. يقول أنس إن كانت الأمة أو إن كانت الأمة من إماء أهل المدينة لتأخذ بيد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فتنطلق به حيث شاءت. In America we have a song that, merry-go-round. Well, imagine a little girl. In fact, she is a slave girl. When she sees him in Medina, she runs towards him. She grabs on his finger and she runs and throws him around, and he would actually follow her. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who does that? And this was his behavior. فكان إذا استقبل الرجل فصافحه لا ينزع يده من يده حتى يكون الرجل الذي ينزع. You know, they tell you in business, if you really want to know the trait of a successful person, is that when you speak to them, they give you their 110 full attention. When you talk to someone, the most annoying thing is you're talking to me and I'm looking somewhere else, right? Now you keep talking to me and I'm looking somewhere else, and and I keep nodding, yeah, right? And then you say, did you get what I said? Yeah. Well, what was that you just said? That's the most annoying thing. And so the Prophet ﷺ, when he would stand before someone talking with him, it doesn't matter who else comes to ask him something, he would give 100% and then focus. And if he was holding your hand, he would continuously hold your hand until you become bored, kind of, sort of, and say, okay, I have to go, Ya Rasulullah. Then he would let your hand go. What does that mean? It means that he holds your hands. He gets you closer to him. He tells you and shows you that you are extremely important. They said that Amr ibn al-As, because he gotten used to this, not knowing that the Prophet does this with everybody, but he thought he was important and that he was, he was something special. So he comes to Rasulullah one day and he says, Ya Rasulullah, man ahabbu nas ilayk? Who's the most beloved to you? He says, Aisha. He says, Ya Rasulullah, from the men. قال أبوها, her father. He says, ثم من? He said, Uthman. ثم من? ثم عمر. ثم من? ثم Ali. And then he kept naming things. He says, Wallahi, then I stopped. I was afraid that he was never going to name me. But if this was any indication, it's an indication that when the Prophet ﷺ was talking with you and engaging with you, you feel that you are the focus of his attention. Try that with one of your children. Try that with your little daughter. I was talking one time to my daughter, and she was saying something to me, and I kept looking at her, and she grabbed my chin. She turns me to says, Dad, can you please look at me? I said, I'm listening. No, you have to look at me when I'm talking to you. And if this was any indication, it shows us that the etiquettes of the Prophet ﷺ was an amazing etiquette. This stuff they teach in business school today. This stuff they teach in MBA seminars. This stuff, subhanAllah, is something that people pay to come and learn how to behave. There are books written by Stephen Covey. There are books written by, which is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When you look at it, 95% of it is what the Prophet ﷺ's behavior used to be. Jazakallah khair. There is this Dale Carnegie who wrote a book in the 1930s, or maybe the 1800s, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Wallahi, when you read that book, you just think that this man was maybe a Muslim, and he took it out of, the pages of Riyadh al-Salihin, or maybe some of the, Siyar A'lam al-Nubala, or something like that. The history of those who are nobles and those who were before us. لقد كان لكم في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. Subhanallah, the best of examples for us, brothers and sisters, and those who listen to us, is really truly the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. The way he lived and the way he believed. The topic of our brief talk today was إنك لا تهدي من أحببت ولكن الله يهدي من يشاء. Brothers and sisters, if I dedicate my entire life to make someone to follow, I can't. There is no way that you can make someone to follow you and be your follower if they do not want to. That, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. You do not guide whom you want. And you know who this verse was for? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It says, Ya Muhammad, you do not guide whom you want. I, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, guide whom I want to be guided. And this when he was after his uncle, please become Muslim. Say La ilaha illallah, I will witness you, I will witness for you on the day of judgment, and you will enter Al-Jannah. And he said, I'm afraid that the Arab will say that I cowered at my deathbed and I became a Muslim. Right? And all of us know the story. But Allah tells Prophet Muhammad, leave him alone. You do not, O Muhammad, guide whom you want or love. I guide whom I want. And so, if we ask, ما هو حسن الخلق? You know, we keep talking about the good etiquettes and how we can write books and read books and become better people. But what is it? What is حسن الخلق? What is good character and good etiquette? يقول ابن المبارك, which is a well-known scholar, قال هو طلاقة الوجه. Good character, yeah, just have a smile on your face all the time. What's wrong with that? طلاقة الوجه. Don't frown in people's faces. You know, scientifically they say frowning uses more muscles. The smiling relaxes your face, right? But frowning is like you become old very fast because you're using all of these muscles all the time, right? So somebody says to me, yeah, I need to exercise my face so I stay young. I said, no, it's totally the opposite. You keep frowning all the time, you become old. People know, you know, a manager who's always frowning his face, who wants to knock on his office? And when a problem happens, who actually wants to go to his office? Right? You lose friends that way very, very fast. And as Abraham Lincoln says, you can collect more flies with a drop of honey than a gallon of, yeah, you know, you can, you really can. But a drop of honey will bring a lot of flies and maybe other insects as well, right? But a drop of honey. So he says, قال طلاقة الوجه وكف الأذى. يا أخي, lift your hands from the people. Yani, why do I know that he is a Muslim and I want to harm him? Backbiting him. Putting hurdles and blockades in front of him at work. Why? So I could be better. I can shine instead of him. I know a contract is coming, but this is a Muslim and he deserves it. No, I have a friend who's better than him. You know, كف الأذى عن الناس. Very simple. طلاقة الوجه وكف الأذى عن الناس. Wallahi, if we engage in doing this to one another, let alone people whom we think would be our enemies, I think we would be a better ummah. كف الأذى عن الناس وطلاقة الوجه. Subhanallah, if we engage in this, it has a value as well. يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما من شيء أثقل في ميزان المؤمن يوم القيامة من حسن الخلق. There is nothing more heavier on the scale of a believer on the day of judgment, more so than his good character and good etiquettes. حسن الخلق. وإن الله لا يبغض الفاحش البذيء. You know, someone who's always foul language. Someone, if the wind touches them the wrong way, the whole day they are upset. They shout at their wife, they shout at their kids. They answer the phone and says, what do you want? Like I said, hello. Yeah, what do you want? Nothing really right now. Assalamu alaikum, bye. Right? Because, you know, they're walking home, kicking the cat. You know, they walk in and everybody feels like, oh my God, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Wallahi, there was one wife in Houston, Texas. She came to the imam and she complained and she complained. And he says, what is wrong? And she said, wallahi ya shaykh, when my husband comes home, we all pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the night goes free of shouting and yelling. He says the kids would be so silent. The cats would run out. He says even the roaches, they would skip the house. And he says, man, you know, it's very difficult. We don't know how to deal with him. And there are people like that, subhanAllah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah hates these people. Imagine that Allah, and the heaviest of the scale of a believer, وقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أنا زعيم بيت في أهل الجنة لمن حسن خلقه. I guarantee أنا زعيم بيت في أعلى الجنة, in the highest of heavens, I guarantee a house for those who have good character. Wallahi, I went to Medina. I don't know what to say about the people of Medina. May Allah bless them. You know, Ibrahim, he's an African American. And when I say that, he laughs. You know why he laughs? Because he totally agrees with me. And if someone like him, who never lived in Medina, and all of a sudden went to visit Medina, and now it's like he's becoming almost emotional because, yeah, I know what you mean. You know when you say, I know what you mean? Because the people of Medina, there is something about them. Subhanallah, there is something about the people of Medina is that they hover towards you and you hover towards them. Wallahi, they know you from Adam. They don't know you from Adam, but subhanallah, they go out of their way to help you. Today we were talking, I visited some of my relatives, and they were talking about how he got lost, and all of a sudden he got out of his car and he asked someone, and he says, oh, I don't know where that is, but I know somewhere closer to it, follow me. And he said, follow you? Okay, just point at me. He said, no, it's very difficult, just follow me. He said, we were driving for a long period of time, and finally he rolls down his window and he says, if you go this way, that way, you will find a house. I said, subhanallah, if this was anywhere else, people would look at you and say, brother, I don't know where you're going, but see you, bye. Nobody has time for you. Nobody will stand there to help you. I came to Medina in one of the Ramadan. We were taking some teenagers with us. And subhanallah, I was walking from the hotel room, and of course you leave everything in the hotel room because this is Medina. You don't carry your passport and your ID. And I was walking and I feel like two people grabbed my hands and I said, oops, immigration police. What am I going to say to them now? Because we were warned about it, right? You got to carry your paperwork with you all the time, no matter who you are. So all of a sudden, and I look and I see this young man who says, Ammu, please come with me, uncle. I'm like, where? No, to that table. It was Ramadan, of course, and iftar was coming. So you got to sit with me. My father pointed at you and he says, go get him to our table. And then I look at the other dude, the young man, he's also grabbing my hand. No, uncle, you come with me. And I'm like, how am I going to do this now? So the one who pulled me stronger, he went with them on the right side and I went. And if this shows anything, it shows that, subhanAllah, the people of Medina is that the type of people that you want to hover towards. I ask you by Allah, if someone has a character like this, would you not want to be associated with? Would you not at least want to listen to them? Would you not at least want to get to know them? It really is amazing to me that sometimes we as Muslims in a country like America, as Muhammad says he loves da'wah. I lived in a neighborhood and for 10 years, I never really invite my neighbor to come and have just a cup of tea with me. I mean, I'm very sure they see me on a Friday dressed in my jalabiyah, or maybe on a Saturday I'm taking the kids to the masjid. I know they probably know that I'm a Muslim. They know my behavior is a little bit different, and they say, you know, these Muslims, I don't know. But I never really took the time to invite someone to my home. And let's not talk about anything except we are neighbors, and you know what? Is there a neighborhood watch? Is there any volunteer work that I could help with? Oh, and by the way, you know, I know that you have a party coming next week. Y'all are okay? You can park in front of my house? That kind of stuff. We don't get involved at all. And that is a way of saying, Lakum dinukum waliya din. But how am I going to do da'wah if that's not the way that it is? As-Salaf al-Salih, those that existed before us and right after the generation of the Prophet ﷺ, they teach us an amazing lesson. From the top upper echelons of the community down to those who work the land. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was one of the khulafa at the time where Islam was rampant. And one day he was walking in the masjid and it was dark. So he trips over someone who was asleep, and the man wakes up and he says, are you crazy? Amajnoonun ant? So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz turns to him and he says, no. And he walks away. And so of course his bodyguards, they turn to the man and says, what's wrong with you? Don't you know who this is? This is the Khalifa. How dare you talk to him like this? So Umar ibn Abdul Aziz turns to him and says, what's wrong with you? The man asked me a question, are you crazy? And I said, no. End of the story. Why are you after him? Leave him alone. Khalas. Bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum. Finish. Amazing, isn't it? Amazing, isn't it? Well, some people today throw gas to kill their own people. They do things that have nothing really to do with the humanity and the way they behave with one another. It just has nothing really to do with our deen. But when a ruler like this trips over someone and asks him, trying to say that to the president of some country, he says, "Are you crazy?" He looks at you and he says, "Well, you and your family and anyone that has any association to you and your friends, they will all be crazy tonight." You see what I mean? It's completely different. And so, وفي خلافة أبي بكر الصديق رضي الله عنه رضي الله عنهما وقد عينه قاضيا على المدينة فمكث سنة لم يعقد جلسة قضاء فطلب من أبي بكر إعفائه فقال أبو بكر: أمن مشقة القضاء تطلب الإعفاء يا عمر؟ فقال عمر: لا، ولكن ليس بحاجة عند قوم مؤمنين. Umar ibn al-Khattab, briefly, he was obviously put as the qadi or the judge. So after some time he became bored. And he says, "I don't want to do this job." So the Khalifa at the time would ask, "Why don't you want to do this?" He says, "Wallahi, nobody comes to my court. Everybody, they're okay, lovey-dovey with one another. If I hit your car, yeah, malish, I'll fix it for you, right? Did they know? Oh, you're the one who's wrong. No. You hit my car. No, I was not even there. No, you hit my car, right? I mean, a car could be parked. You hit it, and then you go knock on the door and say, "Your car hit my car." You know what I mean? And so we hit one another and we say, "Khalas, I know I'm wrong. I'll fix your car." End of the story. We don't need to go to courts. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. Inheritance is not my inheritance. We know that if I take a land that's not mine, on the day of judgment, Allah will bring me and Allah will make me carry this land. If I can't even carry this much in the dunya, how am I going to carry a land on the day of judgment? And so if people understand that, what happens? There is no need for courts. There is no need to pack heat, as we say in Texas, right? There is no need to be, go lift weights so that you're stronger so you can beat down someone who might take something that's yours. Try to live in Caracas for 6 months. See how that happens. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? Do you agree with me? Or in New York City, right? Or even in Texas somewhere, where it's going to be very, very difficult. Or in different parts of the world, in Africa or anywhere else, where people have no self-respect or self-control. What happens? Then you have that animalistic behavior that comes out and that eats all of us. Finally, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was always a humble person. Even when he entered Mecca, victorious. Someone who walks in a place where they tried to kill him, tried to poison him. They threw him out of the city. They tried every way to collaborate against him, right? They called him crazy. They put him in what you would call today concentration camp, right? To the point that Ammar ibn Yasir, he says, "Wallahi, we found nothing but the leaves from the trees. In fact," he says, "one time we were urinating." He says that I was urinating somewhere, and I've heard something as if it was, hard on the ground. So I discovered it was dry skin from a dead carcass. He says, "We took it, we washed it, we boiled it, and we ate it as broth." What kind of life is that? When you are put into something like that, right, to the point that Khadija would die at the time that he was in prison, in an open prison. Yet when you come back victorious, the city is now yours. You can do whatever you want. He would stand there. His forehead almost touched his knees or touched the hump of the camel. He did not want to look at anyone. He was extremely humble that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enabled him to be this victorious. Then everybody would gather around him and they say, "What are you going to do to us?" He said, "What do you think I'm going to do?" They said, "We know from your childhood that you were kind. We know from your childhood that you are noble, the son of nobles. And we hope that you would forgive us." He says, "اذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء." All of you are free. He said, "Go. You're free." فصلى الله عليه وسلم. إن إن العالم بأسره يرمقنا من عن بعد. Today, wallahi, the whole world looks at us Muslims from afar, right? I have probably said this story before, but for those who did not hear it from me, it'll be something new. And for those who've heard it before, it'll be just a reminder. A Syrian family, and all of us know that Syrian people, they look really, really fair skinned. They can pass as a Caucasian, right? And so the brother who's sitting at the corner, and obviously our British brother as well, when you look at them, they can pass for Syrians if they don't obviously say anything. In fact, it's known that the people from Syria are remnants from people who came from Europe and stayed behind. And so he is a doctor in the middle of America, the Midwest somewhere. He takes his family and they go live there. And one day, the two boys noticed that then an elderly woman that lives right across the street from them, she's barely able to take the grocery bags and go into her home. So they run across the street and they help her. But they notice that her house is not really organized and that she's a loner. And they notice that her backyard is not being mowed for a long time, nor her front yard. So they come and they report to their mom, and she says, so what are you going to do? They said, okay. So next Sunday they go and they mow her lawn, front yard and the backyard. And mother makes some food, and she goes across the street, knock on her door, gets to know her. She noticed that she's obviously a loner. And so one Sunday she invites her over. And the relationship became really beautiful. And lo and behold, one day after maybe 6 or 7 months, the elderly woman, as she has always been invited on every Sunday morning to lunch with the family, she sits on the kitchen table and she looks at all of them and she says, y'all are good Christians. And so the mother of the house, she looks at her and she says, we're Muslims. SubhanAllah, when this lady died, she was buried in the graveyard of the Muslims. Why? Because she accepted Islam. There was no khutbah. There was no long speeches. There was nothing except that this family truly showed this woman the true character of Islam. That's it. And so, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس. You were the best ummah brought forth to mankind. The brother speaks Spanish. How many people could become Muslims because they see somebody who speaks Spanish happen to be a Muslim? And the brother speaks Urdu, or maybe have the ability to understand Hindi. How many people who could encounter that speak the language who get to know Islam through it? Amazing, isn't it? I met Brother Nasser in Houston, Texas. And this is the second story, and we will end with that. Otherwise, the stories would be too many. Brother Nasser is an African American, came out of prison. And he came to us in Houston, Texas, because we set up a relationship with the halfway house, where as people come out of the prison, they stay in this halfway house until they really find themselves and they get acclimated with the community. Then they become part of the community as citizens. He knew the masjid and he came to us, and I loved the way Brother Nasser was acting. He became very responsible. He worked for a printing company, and I could see him right after Fajr getting into the van and go deliver whatever needed to be delivered, and he would come back and I'd see him in Isha and Fajr and some other times. So one time I said, Brother Nasser, how did you become Muslim? He says, man, it's a long story. I said, well, tell me, I got time. And I said, there's got to be something about this dude. I got to go find out who he is and what is going on with him. So he says, one day I followed him and we have this 1 hour free outside. So he says, I sat by him and I just kind of said, you smoke? He says, no. And then I kind of really like the way he behaves, the way he walks. There was something about him. It was a serenity about him, he says. So he says, I say, man, what are you? He says, I'm a Muslim. I said, what is that? And then, of course, he tells him about Islam. And he says, I see him pray. He does these strange movements and things like that. And he says, I knew nothing about Islam except through the way he behaves and the way he talks. That's it. Period. End of the story. Again, no speeches, no, become a Muslim or we'll, shoot your head off. None of that. And that's why إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. You will never make someone become a Muslim. You will never guide someone because even if you love that person, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ, but Allah guides whom He loves. Jazakum al-khair, may Allah accept from all of us. And